You know what we just realized? We can't wheel in anymore. I can't come in and go
clink.
Clink. Welcome to The Whole Truth. This is not Happy Chaos.
This is not.
It's a different sign. Hard to read because my face is in the way. But yeah, this is The Whole Truth. And so we're going through the entire Bible. I'm taking you through the entire Bible without skipping anything. So that's from Genesis all the way to Revelation. If you like that,
subscribe.
You're supposed to like...
Oh. Subscribe.
We can tell who doesn't watch.
Guys.
We can tell who doesn't watch The Whole Truth.
I have watched every single episode you've ever done.
Everyone?
Everyone.
What about Genesis chapters 51?
Oh, yeah.
There's no Genesis 51.
Stop!
What about the book of Hezekiah?
Stop. Why are you being mean to me right now?
Because now you're questioning, is there a book of...
Hot in here, y'all.
Yeah, we thought we had the AC fixed, and we didn't, so we're back to that. Okay, well, you know what? But we get it. We can't do this totally podcast style because we'll be here for a long time.
We'll get sidetracked.
Yeah. Well, I need you to grab your Bibles and turn them open to 1 Samuel chapter 20, and then find verse 17 with us. That we're in an interesting predicament here because I have not preached this yet on Sunday. So this is the context of Sunday's sermon.
Like the Sunday?
Yeah, this upcoming Sunday. You get like a little preview of this upcoming Sunday. And I think I'm just realizing, did you move the...
I did not touch a thing.
Did you move this?
Nope.
She moved the locker.
I promise I did not move the locker.
Have you guys ever seen Happy Chaos? Have you seen when she moves my locker out of the
That's
picture?
only because, all right, see, this bothers me. That there's an orange locker on this side, but there's nothing on the other side.
Well, you can't even see the locker.
I didn't see that, though. I bet you if you look back at your...
Oh, boy. All right, well, there we go, interrupting ourselves. Okay, strap in. Let's see if we can get through this all the way.
Without sweating.
Oh, we're going to sweat. Yeah, it's the Word of God. It's sharp. Okay, so what we're talking about today, we're in the middle of this scenario where Jonathan and David are making a covenant with each other, or have made a covenant with each other. But this covenant's a little different in that Jonathan, like David starts out, it started out, you see this in the last video, like it started out with David saying, what have I done wrong? Like, why is this happening? And Jonathan saying, my dad's not trying to kill you, but David convinces him to go and basically test his dad. Jonathan is going to go and test his dad. That's where it started. But it ends with Jonathan looking at David and saying, I'll go and test my dad for you to find out if he's trying to kill you. And here's how we'll do the test. That's what he's about to tell us, is like, here's how we're going to do that test. But there's this very interesting thing that happens where Jonathan, right at the end of what we just read in verses 16, well, I don't know, 15, 14, 15, 16, in the last video, Jonathan like flips it around and he says, but this is what I want from you. I want to make a covenant with your house, that you will show me loving kindness forever. Not just me, but also the generations that come after me. Which was a very interesting thing to do because David is not the king.
Right.
David's not even he's not in line from an earthly perspective. He's not even in line to be the king. And we're certainly not told that anyone else knows of his anointing from Samuel. So David knows that he's anointed. His family who saw it knows that he's anointed, but we don't even know that Jonathan knew verbally from David that he was anointed, only that Jonathan seems to be able to see that God's blessing is upon this young man, and that Jonathan is recognizing David is going to be the king. And so he says, when you're the king, when the Lord has put all of your enemies down, which would have been Saul, he says, I want you to show me loving kindness. And so now they're about to go over that deal. Let's start out with the first 5 verses. Let's start in chapter 20, verse 17. All right. So now Jonathan again caused David to vow because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. And then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and you will be missed because your seat will be empty. But when you have stayed 3 days, go down quickly and come to the place where you hid on the day of the deed, and remain by the stone Ezel. And then I will shoot 3 arrows to the side as though I shot at a target. And there I will send a lad saying, go find the arrows. And if I expressly say to the lad, look, the arrows are on this side of you, get them and come. Then, as the Lord lives, there's safety for you and no harm. But if I say thus to the young man, look, the arrows are beyond you, go your way, for the Lord has sent you away. And as for the matter which you and I have spoken of, indeed, the Lord be between you and me forever. So here's the deal. Here's how they're going to do it. Jonathan is going to go before Saul, and he's going to say to Saul that David went to Bethlehem, and that's why he's not at the feast. And if if Saul gets irate about that, gets mad about that, then they're supposed to know we've got a problem with Saul. If he doesn't, then we don't have a problem. And how's David going to know whether there's a problem or not a problem? Well, here's what they're going to do. Jonathan's going to come out in the field. David's supposed to hide at this particular stone. Jonathan's going to go out in the field, act like he's shooting at a target. If he shoots the arrows on this side, closer between himself and David, you're good. Say, I'm going to tell the lad to go get the arrows, and they're on this side of the stone. You know they're good. If I yell out to the lad, they're beyond you, they're beyond the stone, then you need to go. Like that's the sign that's going to be given. And so he says, but you got to wait the 3 days. You got to go wait 3 days, come back in 3 days, give me time to talk to my dad and see how he's going to react. You have to give me those 3 days. So David is now going to go away for 3 days. So I have some practical things that I would like to say about this. I think from the first practical thing we have to understand is that David is getting ready to leave the presence of Saul. He's not going to be in the presence of Saul anymore. Even though all these other times we've even seen Saul getting to the point that he wanted to kill David, David was still in the presence of Saul to some degree, even going and trying to play music for him, trying to calm him down. He'd always been there. We're leading to a point that David is going to leave the presence of Saul. And I think that there's a symbolic point for us to understand that symbolically there is a time that God calls us to leave. First of all, let's just understand the first one being sometimes God calls us to leave. The first thing he calls us to leave is the world, to leave the ways of the world, to leave the world behind. And then I think there's even more practical or maybe not more practical, but more personal, where we can get down to saying sometimes God calls us to leave certain things. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a desire, a dream that you might have. There's sometimes that God calls us to leave. And I want to give 3 things today. I want to give 3 reasons that God calls us to leave, especially when we think of the terms of leaving the world, leaving the ways of the world, leaving sin behind. I want to give 3 reasons. And the first one actually comes from this. It's how long? How long did how long did Jonathan tell David to go away?
3 days.
Does that mirror anything in your mind?
Oh, yeah.
Which is?
Christ.
What part of Christ?
When he died on the cross?
Yeah. And then he was in the tomb 3 days. Yeah. As a matter of fact, remember with me that the Jews were saying they wanted a sign. They said, if you're really the Messiah, we want a sign. And Jesus said, an evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. But no sign is going to be given except this one thing. Do you remember what it was? The sign of Jonah. That just as Jonah was in the giant fish for 3 days and 3 nights, so the Son of Man should be in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. And now here we see that David is going to be tucked away for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
And so it's after those 3 days that then David is going to be able to see. Now we have to understand something. So much as we're saying there's a symbolism here, there's typology here, but we have to recognize that David's a real guy with a real problem. The king wants to kill him.
Yeah.
He knows that he's anointed. So David's like, do I stay or do I go? I don't think that David had a fear that, that Saul could trump God's will.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can see that David's distraught. He's like, what have I done? And your father tries to kill me. I'm but a step away. There's a step between me and death. And so he says that Jonathan says, I'm going to go find out whether or not you should stay. But you got to go hide out for 3 days. And after 3 days, I'm going to come shoot this arrow, and then we're going to decide. And I think there's a typology there of Christ, just like David had to go hide for 3 days, and then that was the sign that it's time for him to go.
Yeah.
In the same way, I think that Christ, after 3 days in the grave, when he came back from the grave, he ascended to the Father. Today, the believers like you and I, we're baptized. Think of how we're baptized. We're buried with Christ in baptism, and then we're risen to walk with him in a new life. So the whole point would be this. This is what I'd be trying to say, that we walk away from the world because we live a resurrected life.
Yes.
The reason the first reason I would give when it's like time to walk away is when you recognize that you're supposed to live a resurrected life.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to live the old life anymore. David used to live in the palace. He used to play music for the king. He used to be there with Jonathan. David's not thrilled about the idea of having to go, but it's time to go.
Yeah.
And it's after 3 days that it would be time for him. That'd be time for him to go. And so, by the way, I've got some verses there. You guys can get those study notes on Patreon. If anybody wants those, you can go over to Patreon and get those study notes. And so, you ready to move on?
Yeah.
She's ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's just such an exciting story. You know, a true story. I'm just saying it's an exciting thing to watch, to see take place. You know, especially us reading it now, knowing what we know, that others didn't know at that time.
Sure, he's living through it. As a matter of fact, David will not ascend the throne for the next decade. He is about to go on the run. He doesn't realize it yet. He's coming to Jonathan saying, should I come back to live with your dad in the palace, or should I move on? And think about it, like he was a shepherd boy. Nobody knew him. Nobody knew who he was. He was out in the field. He was the least of his dad's sons, right? And then he's been moved into the palace. Now that he's in the palace, he plays music for the king, and that he did well in that. Then he kills Goliath. Now he's, getting fame. Everybody knows who he is. Then he's leading battles and leading people through, through these great battles. And then, there comes a point that like the ladies of Israel are literally singing a song about him.
Yeah.
How many people do the ladies sing a song about you? Not a ton.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of people writing songs. I don't think everybody was a Taylor Swift. They weren't all. That's funny. Like writing songs about somebody. So what I'm saying is that David was famous.
Yeah.
And in that fame, he's living in the palace. He's not living out in the field anymore. He's living there with the king. He knows that he's anointed. And I think there's something to be said about that. I would dare to say David probably had it in his head to some degree that, well, maybe this is how he's going to one day take the throne because he's there in the palace. But now he's having to leave that. How many times do we have to leave our plans? And why do we have to leave those plans sometimes? Because we live a resurrected life. We can't do things on our own terms. We can't do things the way that we want. We have to do them. Jesus even said that he was here to do the Father's will.
Yeah.
And that's what he was here to do. So, first reason, resurrection, just like Jesus was in the grave for 3 days, David was tucked away for 3 days. All right, check out this next part. We'll read the next 10 verses. So pick up with me in verse 24. If you guys are sticking with us, it's 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 24. Then David hid in the field, and when the new moon had come, the king sat down to eat the feast. And now the king sat at his seat, and as at other times, on a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side. But David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul did not say anything that day, for he thought, something has happened to him. He is unclean. Surely he is unclean. And it happened in the next day, the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said to Jonathan, why has the son of Jesse not come to eat either yesterday or today? And so Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked permission of me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, please let me go, for our family has a sacrifice in the city, and my brother has commanded me to be there. And now if I found favor in your eyes, please let me get away and see my brother. Therefore he has not come to the king's table. Then Saul's anger was aroused against Jonathan, and he said, you son of a perverse, rebellious woman. Do I not know that you have chosen the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on the earth, you shall not be established, nor your kingdom. Now therefore send and bring him to me, for he shall surely die. And Jonathan answered Saul his father and said to him, why should he be killed? What has he done? And then Saul cast a spear at him to kill him, by which Jonathan knew that it was determined by his father to kill David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger and ate no food, and no food the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David because his father had treated him shamefully. So remember, the sign that they wanted, the sign that they were going to give was this. David said to Jonathan, go to your dad. I'm not going to be at the feast. Go to your dad and tell your dad the reason I'm not at the feast is because I went back home to Bethlehem. Let's see how he reacts. If he reacts good, then I'm safe. But if he reacts bad, you're going to know that I'm right. He's actually trying to kill me. Jonathan agreed to that. And then they came up with the whole sign of the arrows, right? Like what they're going to do depending on how Saul reacts. Jonathan now goes to his dad to get the reaction. On day number 1, Saul's like, David's seat's empty. He's probably unclean. He probably touched something dead. He can't be at the feast because he touched a dead body. It's probably what it is. Surely he's got to, it's just because he's unclean. Well, if you're unclean until the evening. We read that back in Leviticus. You've watched that video. That was funny.
I don't know why you're picking on me so hard.
So,
you know what? I do good with tests.
Oh. And so he would be unclean till the evening. So on the second day, it makes sense that on the second day, Saul notices again and he goes, oh, okay. What's going on here? So he asks who he knows is David's best friend, his own son. He looks at his son and he says, where is David, the son of Jesse is what he calls him. That's David's dad. He goes, where is the son of Jesse that he hasn't been at the feast now for the second day? And Jonathan goes, he asked me if he could go to Bethlehem. He says his brother was commanded him to go. He asked me earnestly if he could please go to Bethlehem because they're having the feast, the new moon feast over in Bethlehem, and he wanted to go to that sacrifice and that feast over in Bethlehem. So that's why he's not here. And you can just imagine Saul's face like changing. And he goes, do you think I don't know that you, Jonathan, have chosen Jesse over me? That's what he says to him. Like, do you not know? Do you think I don't know what is going on here? That you've chosen this son of Jesse? And look at the way that he says this. In verse 28 is where we read that about, what Jonathan said, but it's in verse 30. Then Saul's anger was aroused against Jonathan, and he says, you son of a perverse and rebellious woman, do I not know that you have chosen the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on the earth, you shall not be established, nor your kingdom. No, now therefore send and bring him to me, for he shall surely die. All right, now just understand that. First of all, when I say that he's angry, he just called him the son of a perverse and rebellious woman. That's a pretty bad way of
insult.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad insult to throw. I'm sure Jonathan's mom, Saul's wife's like, what'd I do? Why am I getting this?
Why does the woman always get blamed?
Why am I getting blamed for this one?
But if he did something great, he'd be like, you're my son.
Well, he calls Jonathan out. He's like, I know you're lying. And then he looks at Jonathan. He's talking to Jonathan. He says, bring him to me that I may kill him. Why? Why does he want to kill him? Because he says to Jonathan, as long as the son of Jesse is alive, you will never be the king. The posit that he gives, the preposition that he gives is, Jonathan, you're in line to be the king, but as long as the son of Jesse is here, you will not be the king. Now understand something. Saul is able to recognize then that David is going to be the king.
Exactly.
Now, I would think, just call me crazy, but I would think Saul, who a good warrior, have thrown at least 3 spears at the son of Jesse, at David, and not been able to hit him. I've sent mercenaries to kill him, and they prophesied when they got in his presence. I myself went to go kill him. And I prophesied and could not kill him. And yet notice, he still is going after him. Saul is blinded. This is literally, this is someone who is blinded by their anger, by their jealousy, by their bitterness, but even more so, like if we read that story, if you believe that story to be true and you read that like we do,
absolutely,
then you look at that and you go, wait a second, hold on, like how could anybody go through all of that and still try to fight this? Obviously, David is anointed and he is going to be the king. Saul can see it, but Saul's got it in his mind that somehow if he just kills David, then that threat will be gone. I mean, is that what he's thinking?
But like you just said, he's blinded by emotion, by jealousy.
This evil spirit that's upon him.
For sure.
But it does go to point out as well, you can't stop what the Lord is doing.
Yep.
You can't, you can try whatever you want.
Yep.
You can't stop it. If the Lord's in it, then you can't stop it.
That's right.
And this is a blessing. Like this is a good thing. Maybe not for Saul. It's not in Saul's mind. This isn't a good thing, but this is a blessing. The Lord is putting the right man on the throne. Remember, the Lord said he's looking for a man after his own heart.
Yes.
And so this is a good thing, but Saul can't see the good thing is there because he's so blinded by all of his anger. But we're not quite done yet. Because it seems right now, you're like, okay, well, yeah, he's like fighting for his own. He's like, Saul is fighting for his own son. Like, that's what he's saying. He's like, don't you know that as long as the son of Jesse lives, that you don't get to be the king? You never get to be the king.
So you want him dead so you can be the king.
That's what he's trying to convince him, right?
Yes.
Watch this. Watch what happens. Jonathan answered, in verse 32, Jonathan answered his father and said to him, why should he be killed? What has he done? Jonathan said, Saul says, as long as he's alive, you don't get to be the king. He says, bring him to me that I may kill him. Jonathan goes, why? What has he done? Does Saul answer, what has he done? Nope. Look, in verse 33, Saul cast a spear at him. And then just in case you're curious, like, oh, he threw it his direction. He threw it past him. He threw it over his head. It says specifically that in verse 33, Saul cast a spear at him to kill him. And that is by which Jonathan knew that it was determined by his father to kill David. Jonathan is sitting at the table. His dad just looked at him and said, don't you understand something? As long as David is alive, you never get to be the king. Throws the spear at David, or had thrown the spear at David. He's like trying to justify that, saying that I've done that. I'm trying to kill him for you. But then he goes, bring him to me that I may kill him. Mm-hmm. Jonathan says, why? Why would you kill him? What has he done? Saul grabs that same spear and throws it at Jonathan. Well, wait a second. I thought he wanted Jonathan to be the king.
Right.
I thought he wanted Jonathan to have a kingdom.
Right.
So
But you just threw a spear to kill him.
But you just threw a spear that tried to kill him.
Yeah.
So what's happening here? Well, truth is coming out. Here's the gravity of it. Like, here's the reality of it. This really doesn't even have anything to do with Jonathan. This isn't like, like Jonathan's choice is not, okay, do I choose to go with my dad who wants me to be the king? Or do I choose to go with David who he's going to be the king and he doesn't want me to be the king? No. Wait a second. Remember, Jonathan just had David make that covenant with him. He just made an everlasting covenant with David about his own house, that David would show him loving kindness because he recognizes that David's going to be the king. Now, Saul, the one proposing that he would make him the king, that he's going to be the king next, just throws a spear at him and tries to kill him. So does Saul really want Jonathan to be the king?
No.
Saul wants to be the king.
Correct.
Saul is full of pride.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Here's the second thing I would give you about when you know that it's time to walk away. When you recognize the reality of sin. Sin promises you, the world promises you good things. The world promises you, like Satan looked at Jesus and said, bow before me and I'll give you all these kingdoms of the world. Satan loves to make promises to you, knowing that he is the father of lies. He is not going to make good on it. You look at sin. Here's the thing. You look at sin and it looks promising.
Yeah.
You look at it and it looks fun. It looks fulfilling.
Yeah.
It looks that way. As a matter of fact, from an outsider perspective looking in, that the outsider looks at it and goes, wait a second, but isn't there fulfillment in that? Are you telling me there's no fulfillment there? We know the truth. There isn't any fulfillment there. But sin positions itself to say, oh, I'm going to just be blunt for a minute, like you Christians, you've missed out.
Yeah.
You've missed out. You have this whole life to live, and you missed out on all this fun because you were doing, we're like the prodigal son's brother.
Yeah.
The prodigal son, he comes back and he's like, I didn't do any of that stuff my brother did. And
Yep.
what, set in the hog pen?
Exactly.
You've been here in your father's house eating your father's food. He's been over there eating slop for the last year. But we don't see it that way.
Exactly.
We see it as the parties, the revelry, the joy. Joy is probably not the right word. That happiness that comes from having money or having some self-esteem or self-worth or whatever. And the Bible just comes against every bit of that and says pride goes before a fall, and pride is the thing that the Lord hates. And God warns against promiscuity and says that sexual immorality is a sin against your own body, which is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and that you're not your own, you're bought with a price. And the world would love to say you're missing out, but the reality of sin is this: sin will kill you.
I love what you wrote here too. Sin wants control, even if it destroys everything around it.
Yes.
Which it usually does.
Absolutely.
And that just, yeah.
Yeah. Remember after Adam and Eve sinned, and the first sin, the second sin that you see is Cain and Abel.
Yep.
And Cain gets mad at his brother Abel because Abel had a more perfect sacrifice. God comes to Cain and says, you know how to do right. Just do that. But if you don't, sin lies at the door. And you know what he says? Its desire is for you. Like, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you. Like, sin is lurking at the door. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing one time this video. It's like a Ring doorbell, and you can see, I guess it might be an apartment or something, but you can see this front door, and there is a snake in the wreath of this front door, and this woman opens the front door, and the snake jumps up and bit her in the face. Jumped out and bit her in the face when she opened the door. And whenever I hear that about Cain and Abel, I always think about that scene, that clip that I've seen of that snake like reaching out and biting. But I mean, that's the truth. You think that you can have control over the sin, but what you find out is that sin wants to control you, and sin will control you if it goes unchecked. Sin will control you. That's why we have addicts.
Yep.
That's why there's people with addictions, because sin begins to control you.
Yep.
But even more, it doesn't just control. It's not like you cannot find an example of somebody who's an addict, somebody who's addicted, somebody who's even possessed or oppressed or whatever. None of that ever leads to any good.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Anytime someone is controlled by sin, that the things that it leads to is always
destruction.
Always. Never is it like, oh, well, this person was addicted to sin and they had these good things.
Yeah.
No, it always leads to destruction. Even the wealthiest people, even the upper crust of people, financially, popularity, fame, fortune, the whole nine
showing
yards.
Lottery winners that, these people that won the lottery, their lives truly crumbled.
Yes.
Truly crumbled because they let money control them.
Yep. And how many very wealthy, well-to-do, famous people of clout killed themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and the things that they've done to maintain that money and to even go further.
It makes it even worse. Yeah. Sin wants to control you, and it will control you. You have to understand the reality of sin.
Yes.
All right, I've got one more for us. Let's wrap this whole thing up and land this plane, and that is this last one. So Jonathan realizes it in verse 34. Jonathan rose from the table in fierce anger, but noticed that he was grieved for David, because his father had treated him shamefully. And so now we pick up in verse 35. So it was in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the appointed time with David, and the little lad was with him. And when he had said to his lad, now run, find the arrows which I shoot, as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond David. And when the lad had come to the place where the arrow was, Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried out after the lad and said, is not the arrow beyond you? And Jonathan cried out after the lad, make haste, hurry, do not delay. And so Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came back to his master. But the lad did not know anything. Only Jonathan and David knew of the matter. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to his lad and said, go, carry them to the city. As soon as the lad had come, David arose from a place toward the south and fell on his face to the ground and bowed down 3 times, and they kissed one another, and they wept together, but David more so. And then Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, since we have both sworn in the name of the Lord, saying, may the Lord be between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever." And so he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. So as they had said was going to happen, Jonathan's found out David's not safe here. He can't stay. Remember, they're best friends. Jonathan goes out into the field, tells the kid that's with him, "I'm going to shoot some arrows. Go get him for me." Shoots the arrows. The kid goes to get him, and he goes, "Aren't they beyond you? Aren't they further than you?" So the kid gathers up the arrows that Jonathan had shot. He comes back, and you can just almost see the scene as Jonathan takes his bow and he takes his quiver and he hands it to the lad, and he's like, "Hey, take those back to the city for me." And here's this kid. I picture like a little 7, 8-year-old kid. He says, "Take those back to the city for me." And the kid's, "Yes, sir." And he throws it on his back and runs off. But Jonathan knows what's just happened. And the moment the lad was gone, the moment the kid was gone, David comes out from his hiding place. And they come together and they cry on each other. Don't get weirded out by that they kissed each other. I mean, they're talking about if you've ever seen French people who kiss each other on the cheek or whatever. It's a custom of the day.
Yes.
We hug, we handshake, we fist bump. We have our own things that if the world makes it another 2,500 years, 2,700 years, or
I'm sure somebody in the comments will twist that though and come at you for that.
Oh, I mean, there literally are people who want to use that to try to say that Jonathan and David were in a homosexual relationship.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, but that's not the case at all. It's just manner.
That's not the word of God. The word of God is very clear.
I mean, literally, there's places in the world today. If you were to go to Greece, if you were to go to Italy, men will still kiss each other on the face.
France.
France, people will still kiss each other on the face. So that's not an uncommon thing. So that's nothing sexual there. That's just, that was a means of them showing how much they loved each other in the manners and custom of the day. But they fell on each other, they wept, they kissed each other. How much they loved each other is, that's what they were demonstrating, was how much they loved each other. And here's the deal: they were separating, like David was separating, but Jonathan gives him this. I love this thing that he says. He says, "Go in peace, since we have both sworn in the name of the Lord. May the Lord be between you and me, and be between your descendants and my descendants forever." Let there always be a relationship. There's always a relationship between us. You can go in peace. David, go in peace for this reason, because there's a relationship between us. We've made a covenant between us. Here's the last thing I would give you. Remember, what I'm showing you today is when is it time to go? Number one, it's time to go when you understand that we live in a resurrected life. 3 days in the grave, Jesus came back from the grave. We've been buried with Christ. We've been risen with Christ. We live in a resurrected life. Number two, when we understand the reality of sin, a great reason to get away from sin is when you understand the reality of it is to destroy you. Wonderful reason to repent is to say, that is not good for me. I want to come away from that. And by the way, I don't understand why sometimes churches and Christian people today tend to shy away from that.
Because then they're going to lose those members.
Sure.
And they lose.
Well, but I also mean people want to act like that's not a good reason. Fear of something is not a good reason. Listen, fear of the Lord is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And if your problem is hey, wait a minute, I recognize that sin is going to destroy me. I need a way out of that.
Exactly.
Jesus is the way out of that.
That's right.
So, but then there's this third thing, which is this: our relationship with God. You are in a relationship with God. You and I are in a relationship together. And so because we're in a relationship together, are there not things that I do or like that you now do them or like them?
Oh, for sure.
Because of me?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for me, I'll give you one that I know for certain. I hope I can say this freely, but I'm halfway in it. And we've talked about this stuff on our podcast, so I think it's good. We're good even here. But when I used to go pick you up or go over to your house to fix something or whatever before we were married, and I would go over to your house, you did not make your bed. If you look down the hall and there was the bed.
Well, I mean, I would make my bed a lot.
Yeah, once a week.
But it wasn't just made with the blankets. It was made with my clothes. That was my bad habit. It was all of my clothes. Try something on, nope, put it at the end of my bed. Try something on, nope, put it at the end of my bed. And I had a pile at the end of my bed at all times. That was my closet,
Well, You know, but now we're married, and I like tidy. You know me. I like things neat and in order, and I'm always straightening things up and whatever. And even just this morning, I had stepped in the bathroom, and when I came out of the bathroom, you were making the bed, and I thought to myself, how much I appreciate that. Like I know that's not it was not part of your routine to get up every single morning. The first thing you do before we do anything else is, make the bed. But there you are making the bed. Why? Because we're in a relationship with each other, right?
Yeah.
And I think the same thing, I don't just think, I know the same thing when we recognize that we're in a relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about, is the Lord going to kick me out or not kick me out?
We want to do what pleases him.
That's right. Like, if you love him, this is what the Lord said. If you love me, keep my commandments. Yeah. If you love me, Jesus said to Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, I do. And he says, feed my sheep. Yeah. Right? Like, if I love him, I'm going to do the things that please him. Yeah. So what a reason to be able to go in peace when you have to go from something, to go in peace knowing that I'm going because I'm in a relationship with the Lord and I want to do those things that please him. Sometimes those things aren't even necessarily sin. I mean, like, the reality of sin can't be a reason to leave something, but sometimes it might be a reason to leave something. Like we said earlier, here's Christ who said he was about the will of his Father. He was here to do the will of his Father. That's why his Father loved him, because he did his will. And in the same way, you and I can do the will of the Father. And sometimes the will of the Father, it doesn't even have anything to do with sin or not sin. Sometimes God's calling you. Abraham, God called him to a land that he would show him, right? And so Abraham's going to go, and by faith, Abraham left where he was and went where God had called him to. And that pleased God. By faith, pleased God. And we could go down the line of all of those who pleased God by faith, who trusted in him. So I think that's the great place for us to end today with our Bible study. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I would just encourage you to really consider for a moment, is God calling you away from something, and is he calling you unto himself? And if he is, should just say yes to that and be obedient to him. Yeah. So, all right, well, hope you guys enjoyed it. See you tomorrow as we get into 1 Samuel chapter 21. See you then.